No. Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining in today.
Yeah.
Request everyone to mute their microphones. Okay. All right. So we have an e-meet today. Which is the design and fashion schools to consider in 2023. Now, if everyone can hear me, please type in yes in the chat box. If y'all can hear me, so that I know. Okay, y'all can hear me. That's great. Now, what I'm going to do is talk about the schools that you can apply to. The agenda for today is the following, right? Why do you need to consider private design and fashion schools? The possible roadblocks you may face. Meetings with representatives of various design schools through DQ Labs programs. Getting into a fashion or design school is step one, and then we'll go to the Q&A session, right? I hope that's clear with everybody. Right, so we'll start off with the first aspect. Why do you need to consider design or fashion schools? Now, the number of students applying for these design colleges is in the range of 12 to 15,000, and there are limited seats, maybe 400, 500 seats with NIDs and similar numbers, right? Having said that, your chance of getting through is about 1.5% to about 3%. It ranges between that. But what we have seen with DQ Lab students, all right, whether it's our classroom programs or our online programs, the chances of getting through are much higher. Almost 15% to 25% of our students get through every year. So that is so just by being a student of DQ Labs, you are already you have that much higher chances of getting through. All right, so that's a good thing. Right, and when we go to the private fashion schools, the numbers are similar. There are about 25,000 applications for about 3,000 seats, and almost 50 to 80% of DQ Lab students get through every year. All right. So your chances are good, but you still need to have backup plans. Now, what do you need in a design school, right? Or what should you be focusing on when you enter a design school? So, yeah. So your objective is, of course, to get a great experience in your school and also get a job, right? So when we talk about getting a job, so in year 1 and year 2, your primary focus is to identify your own interest, right? So you need to be able to have broad exposure in your school, and I'm going to mute people. I'm requesting everyone to mute their microphones. Yeah. So year 1 and year 2, the school is expected to give you a lot of exposure, right? And year 3 is when you really start building your portfolio in your area of interest. And year 4 is when you start applying to companies. You can depend on your schools, but the right thing to do is for you to focus on your own skill sets, right? And your own interests. Identify companies in that area and then apply, then directly apply. Don't depend on your schools for the application process, right? So the now coming down to the admission processes, the challenges that you will face are the test formats, the tech issues, interviewing processes, creative questions, the portfolio. So overall, what happens is each school has a different format. And when you go through these formats, you will be exposed to the time pressure, the the pressure of time. It's a competitive exam, a lot of different surprise questions you'll get. So it all helps you, even when you're preparing for your NID or NIFT exams, it does help you for that. So just try and look at as many schools you want to apply to. That'll be good. All right. The possible roadblocks that you may face. We're going into step 2 of this session, and we'll cover each of these in a little detail. Which schools to apply to? What parameters do you need to apply? Consider. So all of these aspects are very, very important when you are considering a design school, and these are the roadblocks you may face, which may cause some confusion at various parts of time. So how do you know which schools are good? Number one is the school needs to identify your skills. So you have certain skills, then you go to the university, and this combination of your skills and the exposure, the education you get in your university has to create a wonderful synergy, right? It must make you a bigger personality than what you were when you initially joined. So what should the university give you? It should give you a high level of academic exposure, and it needs to give you sufficient opportunity to bring out your personality. Yeah. So that's very important. The next aspect that you need to understand is each one has a different personality, right? Some of you may kind of feel better when it's a large university kind of an experience. Some of you may prefer a more unique or a small institute kind of an experience, right? So that's up to each person, but you choose, and we'll give you, which schools give you that kind of experience, and then you can figure that out. Now, very important to note that the good schools have been listed on DQ Edge. All of y'all have access to DQ Edge. Please click on this link, edge.dqlabs.in/colleges, and you will get access. Yeah. Right. So now the question is, when you enter a design school, what's the kind of parameters that you need to look for, right? So these parameters are very, so nobody knows what to look for initially, right? So we've broken it up into about 3 different sets. The first set is more like an acid test, right? You're okay with certain locations. You're not okay with certain locations. You want to be in the comfort of your hometown. Some kids want to be out of their comfort zone. So that's typically up to you. And when it's up to you, what you can do is you select the location. Now, ideally, we do suggest locations of institutes that are in slightly larger cities, design-oriented cities. The reason is, what happens is these universities get easy access to designers. They get easy access to guest faculty. They get so you get a design environment itself in that city. Your access to internships become easier. So that's why a location is rather important. Okay. The fee structure is also some aspect which is interesting, where you get to don't stretch beyond your limit. stick to see what's affordable to you and stick to that. There are always good options within your affordable limit. All right. We don't want you to be struggling financially because these programs tend to be a little more on the expensive side. I'm going to mute a few people. Yeah. So that's very important. The third aspect is the degree or diploma, right? So it gives you the authority. It gives you a good authority. Typically, we suggest a 4-year program, where the first year is a foundation and the next 3 years are specialization, right? So that's always suggested. The next we go to the set 2 parameters. Now, set 2 parameters are very critical, right? Because here you're looking at who's heading the institute, who's heading the program, what vision they have for you as a student, right? So some of them may say, we want to get good international relations or international exposure for our kids. The others may say we want to focus on, say, internships or industry related interactions. Somebody else will say we want our students to possibly network with each other or get some leadership skills in organizing activities, right? So all those things are very important and is typically decided by the head of the institute. College brand is, of course, very strong. If you do get into an NID, IIT, very good. Some of the private schools also have a very good reputation in industry. It does help. Infrastructure. Very important to have good infrastructure in the school, in the design school. Now, one of the important things here is that, let's say we have to make a design school, right? It's very expensive. You need a lot of infrastructure. You have a lot of machinery, a lot of software, a lot of computers. So all of this is expensive. All right. So that's why, and the number of students tend to be slightly smaller in a design school. So if I had to start an engineering school versus a design school, my investment for a design school would be a lot higher. So important that the infrastructure is there and that they have a very creative environment to inspire you, right? That's the idea. Of course, the faculty need to be as many. The more industry professionals you have in your program, that would be great. Placements, if there are placements at the school, nothing like it. That always helps. Yeah. Now, the next thing is, what programs do you need to apply for? Most schools prefer that you have already identified your interest by this stage. All right. So if you have identified your interest, directly apply for those specific programs. However, many students have not identified that interest, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay if you've not identified. However, just kind of see where your inclination is and apply to those programs in specific. All right. Now, generally in the first year of your program, it's a foundation year. They do give the option for a lot of students to jump, and a lot of students can move between, design streams. But a lot of times it's not open to everybody because it's on a first come, first serve basis. So those of the students who've done really well, they get the first preference. If those who've not, kept up with the batch strongly, they may not get to switch. So you need to be careful there. Once you join your school, don't slack. Be focused and make sure that you're still on the ball. Okay, when it comes to this. The next thing is what programs you must apply for the experience. All right. Now, when it comes to, now I'm going to take it program wise. So fashion design, we do think that's very important to apply to Pearl Academy, UID. Marangoni is one of the great options based in Mumbai. WUD Sonipat, MIT, They have multiple campuses, Pune, Indore. So all of these you can consider. If it comes to communication design, if it's VFX, animation, film, IDM has a wonderful program specifically for VFX and animation. That would be recommended as a school. Game design, you have MIT ID, WUD, Ecole Intuit Lab. There's another school called Rubica, right? Rubica has a good program. So all of these can be considered. UI UX programs, Pearl Academy, UID, WUD, Strat, these are very good options for UI UX programs. Strat School for product or industrial design, you have Strat School of Design, MIT ID, which is in Pune, UPS, ISDI, excellent program at ISDI. ADYPU is also a great program. Now, some of you may look at interior design, built environment. Built environment is a very new area. This is to deal with, a whole city or urban design or built environment, what they call it. Very, very interesting programs for people who are specifically interested in that. That would be great. Okay. Now, the next aspect I'm coming to is degree. Should I consider only BDES degrees, or can I consider other options as well? Our recommendation is to go for a 4-year program. Now, because of NEP 2020, it's opened a lot more avenues for people, right? Now, a BDES program can typically be given by a university or a institute affiliated with a university. Okay, for that matter, any program is that way. Now, when we look at a BDES program, that's the most sought after program. So many schools do offer this, but there are other programs that or other institutes. Let me take Pearl Academy as an example, right? So the Bangalore campus is affiliated to Bangalore University, or what is called as Bangalore City University. However, Bangalore City University does not offer a BDES program, right? But they offer a Bachelor of Visual Arts, a Bachelor of Vocation. So all these are fine. As long as it's a 4-year program, it's perfectly fine. Now, some schools offer even an integrated master's, which is, it could be a 4+1 or a 3+2. That is also fine. All right. Try and avoid the ones that give you a 3-year program. All right. Stick to a 4-year program. Is everyone getting me so far, or am I moving too quickly? Please type in yes if I'm okay, or type in any questions you have at this stage. Please type it in. I will come back. I will finish this presentation and then I'll come back to the Q&A session. All right. I'm getting a few yeses, so that's good. Now, the next aspect is the application fees. The application fees for schools are expensive. All right. We don't recommend that you go, apply to everything, because it is an expensive process. If you do apply to 5 or 6 schools, you should be able to select from 2 to 3 schools. You'll be selected and you'll have that luxury of choice. Okay. So if you're looking for a university that costs, say, less than 4 lakhs a year, you can consider WUD, you can consider RV University. These are in that range. In the 4 to 6 lakh per year, you can consider UID, ITM, MIT, ADYPU, UPS, WUD. Okay. In the 6 to 8 lakhs a year, it's typically Pearl Academy, Srishti, Jindal, Marangoni, Strat, ISDI, all of these, right? But typically, any of these schools are really good schools. So you don't really need to worry about it too much. The next aspect is, should you wait for NID, NIFT, UC results before applying? So this is where you'll need to be very careful for two reasons, or two or three reasons. Number one, some of the schools have, oh, I've not updated this, I'm sorry, but some of these schools have only one application cycle. And because that one application cycle, the NID results come out after that, right? So you really don't want to miss out on a school because of the application cycle. So we do recommend that you apply before the date, number one. To know your chances in a private school like UID, there are about 6,000 or 7,000 students who apply and only about 500 seats there, right? So typically maybe about 1.5 to 2,000 students get an offer letter. They do give more offer letters than there are seats. The reason is a lot of students drop out later, so that's the reason why they, they do expect these drop-offs and they do that. But typically it's not a problem. If you do get an offer letter, you can possibly get a seat there. Also, your best chances of getting a seat are in cycle 1. Okay. So the schools which have multiple cycles, best opportunity in cycle 1, you close your admission, and then that's it. It gives you a lot of peace of mind. Another aspect which I've not written down here is that all of our past students have said that they've taken these tests because it helps them understand, gets into a competitive environment, and they're able to face the NID or NIFT or UC exams much better. They're able to face these exams much better. So that's why we do think that you should apply to these schools, all right? Now, another aspect that you will face this. Now, let's say you get into a school and the school will ask you to pay a booking fee. They will have a refund policy. So when you make a payment, make sure that you are confident that that's your second option after an IIT or NID or NIFT. Make sure you understand the refund policy and the timelines. Make sure that schools also entertain an extension to some extent. Okay, they do have some flexibility on that. And understand that if you give up a seat, how much money you will lose, right? It's very, very critical for you to understand these options. The next part of this, so those are all the roadblocks you will face. Now I'm coming down to the next aspect, which is meeting representatives of various design schools through DQ Labs programs. So what we've done is we've created various platforms so that you can really interact with these schools qualitatively, and they'll be able to help you through this process. All right. We've had situations in the past where, students have had issues, technical issues, and they really don't know how to contact, whom to contact when they when they face these issues. So what we've done is we've connected with the schools, as many schools as possible. We've created a WhatsApp group, and we have created these links. These are bit.ly links. All right. Now, when you so number one is we would like you to join these WhatsApp groups. If you've not joined these WhatsApp groups already, please join them, because that's where we share all these links and this information. I'm also going to be sharing this link with you so that you can get access to the same presentation that I'm showing right now. So it'll be shared in this link in this WhatsApp group. It'll also, if you missed this webinar or if you've joined halfway, you can watch this telecast on YouTube. The recording will be there. So don't worry if you've missed or you're not able to join this for any reason, you will be able to watch this webinar. Yeah, so number one is the WhatsApp group. Please make sure you click on these links, apply only through these links, because then you'll get to the, then your application goes through the right portal. It reaches the right person in the institution so that they will be your single point of contact for any clarification that you need at the university. The second aspect is DQ Edge. So you come on to DQ Edge. In DQ Edge, there's a micro page for every school, and you can click on the micro page and you can click on the bit.ly link there to apply. Okay, so this is the second avenue for you to apply to these schools through the right application link. And the point is you get a single point of contact, right? The third avenue is the Design Nuances Edu series. All right, DNES, Design Nuances Edu series. Now, this is a platform that we've created where on Sundays, a school will come and they will talk about one aspect of design, which is very interesting to anyone, whether you're a student of architecture or design or fashion, or whether you are a parent, whether you're a student, it does not matter. These are very interesting topics. Now, the idea here is, number one, that you get to qualitatively interact with the faculty from the school. So the faculty will be taking this topic. So you kind of get a sense what the faculty does, who the faculty is, how they teach, what their teaching methodologies are, how they put their ideas across. So all that, that is an interesting aspect here. The second thing is you learn a new topic. Okay, this could be very useful for you in your exam. The third aspect is that the representative of the school will come, the admissions representative will come, and there's a small window of opportunity for you to interact with them and just ask them a few questions regarding the admissions. Yeah. Sorry. So the next DNES session is on the 9th of October. Let me just keep a track on time. Yeah. So the next session is on the 9th of October. That's the coming Sunday, and it's done by ISDI. Also, we are starting a series called the E-Meet Your Design School series. So on each weekday, we're going to call one representative from a school. This is typically the top management of a school, so that they talk to you about their vision, their the reason why that school exists, what their vision is for you as a student, and why you should be joining that school, right? So it's typically a pitch that the school is giving why you should join their school. And this goes, we go back into the thing where it's a large, whether you want a large institution or small institution, what the difference is between these, that's where you get an understanding in these sessions. Look out for this session tomorrow. We have Colonel Bose coming from UID, and he's the dean over there. He's the top man out there. Yeah. Finally, we are getting into the design of fashion school is step one. All right. What design and fashion schools teach you is the technical aspects, the observational skill, problem solving, creative skills, communication. All of this is covered by the school. But there are certain aspects that you need to go out of your way to learn, right? For example, the sensibility of entrepreneurship, the sensibility of collaboration, the sensitivity to profitability, finance, negotiation, decision making. So all these things are things that you need to pick up as skills by yourself. Nobody's going to teach you this. All right. They may have subjects on these aspects, but what you need to understand is, as a designer, as an architect, you need to have these kind of skill sets, which is where you need to put in your effort beyond what the school does. All right. I had planned the session to be half an hour, my part of the session to be half an hour, and now we can get into the Q&A aspect. My suggestion would be, if you'd like to type your questions in, that would be the best way. I'm going to stop screen sharing. So type in your questions. If you'd like to ask anything directly, you're most welcome to ask. I would request you to raise your hand. There's an icon here on Zoom where you can raise your hand and ask a question. Niklesh, I'll come down to you. Thank you for raising your hand. I'll come down to you. I will first, let me first take a few questions that have been typed in already. Will we get the slide deck? The answer is yes. I will share the link to the slide deck in a minute. The next question, want to know the advantage of international programs over pure BDES programs. Now, Disha Bandari, thank you for asking this question. It's a very interesting question that you're asking. International programs, so it's all up to you what you want out of your course. By international programs, I'm assuming that there are 2 or 3 different types of international programs. One is an exchange program where you do semester exchanges, where you do year exchanges, annual exchanges, where you just go for a visit. All right. So all these are different types of programs that you can get international. Sometimes these colleges have associations with colleges abroad where foreign students come down to the university, right? So it's all about what you want. When it comes to these international exchange programs where you go from say India to another country, you need to factor in the additional costs that's of airfare, the tuition fee, the living expenses, all of that. So just be a little conscious on that front when you apply for these programs. What is the difference between?
Sorry, can I just have an additional question to this?
Yes.
So in your opinion, how good is that global design program offered by UID? You know, in your experience, it's like an exchange program and you do like last 1 or 2 years there.
Right.
What has been your experience in terms of adding to your placement skill or your, kind of broadening of skills versus taking a pure design program at UID?
Right. Thanks for that, Disha. So I've got feedback from students who have done that program. The feedback from them is like they've had a really nice experience. They've gone, so it's doing 3 semesters abroad, 5 semesters in India and 3 semesters abroad. So I think the first year is in India. The second year you do 1 semester here, 1 semester abroad, and the same repeats for year 3 and year 4. Now the feedback is excellent. From my understanding, you need they do 1 semester abroad in fashion, 1 semester abroad in design, communication design, and product design. So it's typically a general design program.
Mm-hmm.
My recommendation would be to attend tomorrow's webinar with UID and specifically ask them that.
Okay, all right. And internships are better after this program, or they are like the same, or no idea about that?
Can't say. I mean, okay. That's better to ask them directly.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Rajneesh is asking, what's the difference between BDES and BDES honors? Typically, what you look for is the BDES. If it really doesn't matter, the terminologies between different schools is different, so don't worry about that. As long as it's a 4-year program, it's fine. BDES or Bachelor of Visual Arts, all of that is fine. All right. Mrinalini, let me come to your question.
Yeah. Hello, Dion. To understand 2 things. One is you had put Srishti and others under transdisciplinary. Could you please elaborate on that? One. Right. Second is with respect to this, exchange programs. I think part of it is already answered, saying the fee does not include the exchange program additional cost or living expenses or academics, whatever, right? It's outside of that, as in that will be cost extra.
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
yes, yes. So
And
that, yeah,
yeah.
go ahead. Do you have a build up on that?
No, I just wanted to understand that.
Yeah.
And with regards to this degree, like BDes or BWalk or any other BSc, etc., it's a little confusing when you say it's anything is okay as long as it's 4+ years
Yeah.
of program. So when it comes to placements, is that how the industry also understands? As long as it is 4+, any degree, any alphabetical combination that is mentioned on your certificate is okay. Is that how it is, or is there still a preference? Is there any order in that preference?
Right. So let me take that question first. Typically, the answer to that is no. They look for a 4-year degree program. They are okay with most companies are okay with any degree any spelling combination like you mentioned. I've spoken with students who have different combinations. They've applied to companies like Amazon, companies like Infosys and all that. They're fine. They're fine with it typically. All right. Now, coming back to your first question, could you please repeat your first question?
Yeah, that's transdisciplinary.
Yes, yes. Right. So when it comes to transdisciplinary design, now Srishti has 2 programs. They have a 3-year program and a 4-year program, right? The 4-year program is a BDes, and the 3-year program is a BWalk, right? So in their terms or in their definition, the BDes is a very focused program, which is a industry oriented program, which they want you to, it's like doing a BSc, right? 3-year focus program. But the BDes program is a 1-year foundation followed by 3 years of specialization. Now, when I say transdisciplinary in nature, I'm speaking about the 4-year program of Srishti, which kind of and we'll be inviting them as well to talk at some point of time when they are ready. But typically, the 4-year program is a very meandering program. It's an exploratory program. You can choose various subjects across disciplines, and that's the way they want it, right? So that's the reason why I put it more like a transdisciplinary program. Even if you see the terminology of their programs is very different, like product design is industrial design and art practices, right? So the very title itself is of a transdisciplinary nature, which is what they want. Okay, a focused program is like a BDes in UI UX design, right? That's a very focused program. So it depends on each one. Some people want that flexibility in their program. Some people want the focus program. That we leave it up to you.
Yeah, I got it. But just from your experience, when you say transdisciplinary, it's basically, I mean, again, when it comes to BDes, it is a lot more focused, and transdisciplinary, you kind of explore. So does it lead to some confusion? Finally, at the end of 4 years, you should not be jack of all and master of none, or at least it should lead you to jack of all, master of one.
Well, Srishti wants you to be a unique designer with your 4-year program. All right. So that's why even let's say you do the BDes in industrial arts and design practices, you still have the choice of, you can select subjects from spirituality, from graphic design, like that. You can pick and choose. So that's what they're offering. Like I mentioned, some people like that option of choice. For them, that would be a good option. For those who are looking for a straightforward program, that may not be the best option for them. We would let you choose. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Nikhilesh, you had put your hand up right at the beginning. I would like to take your question.
Yeah, sir, actually, I have a huge doubt over here. When you're saying what it should provide in high-level exposure, what type of exposure are you referring to?
Fantastic. Yeah.
Because there are many types of exposure, and I want the clarity on that.
Fantastic. I think that's a great question. when we talk about exposure, okay, let me put it this way. When Umesh and Sean, they used to, so they did their design at a master's level. And the only reason why they did their design at a master's level is because they had no idea it existed at a bachelor's level, right? Had they known that, they would have done it at a much younger age. Now, when they got into industry, when they worked abroad, Umesh was with Jaguar Land Rover and Sean was with General Motors. So what they realized is that abroad, people are so sensitive to design from a much younger age, right? So thereby, you see these countries are so much more developed because of that exposure at a younger age. So their objective was to come and create that awareness for Indian students, number one. Number two, we want our students to reach a real global level of design, not a Indian level, right? So now similar aspects are there at the design schools. Now the design schools, it's very important that they focus on exposure, meaning they need to get international designers. They need to get designers that have worked on great projects, designers that have created high impacts. Like, for example, the rupee symbol was created by a designer, right? It's a high impact design, right? It's affected millions of people across India, billions, right? So that level of exposure, number one, industry exposure. Number two is the ability to give students opportunity to organize events, organize activities. The students' leadership skills will come up, right? So all these are areas where design plays a huge part, including internships. Let's say internships. If they can get good internships for their students, excellent. If say they are able to, let's study the Bombay Metro project, right? Very complex to have the metro created in highly populated areas, right? So how do they do that? So all these are heavy aspects to focus on. Design sensibility. So that's the exposure we are talking about.
And also, sir, the e-meet that we're talking about, every day will it happen from 5 to 6?
Yes, it's going to happen from 5 to 6. However, all these e-meets are going to be recorded sessions. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel. So if you can't make it at that time, you can watch the e-meet, the recorded version. And further to that, if you have more questions, we'll share the contact person, the single point of contact, who you can connect with. Nandini Menon, you've put your hand up. I would like to take your question, and then I'll take the questions in the chat box. Go ahead, madam.
So I'm actually reappearing for the UC and NID exams.
Okay.
I got accepted into STRAT and UID last year, like in 2022. But for STRAT, my scholarship project did not get selected, which is why I had to withdraw my admission from STRAT.
Okay.
And as for UID, I have a question. Like, I withdrew from UID because of a few of my friends who had been there before, and one of them currently studies it. And she said that she has a really bad experience in UID and their infrastructure is not good and they don't really help with placements. So that time I kind of got worried, and even my parents said that we should withdraw the admission.
Okay.
So at this point in time, what would you suggest for people who are reappearing for their exams?
Right. Firstly, I would say when you get feedback from about a school, all right, now you can talk to two students sitting in the same classroom. One will give you fabulous feedback. The other one will give you terrible feedback. All right. So when you're asking for feedback, it's very good to ask people for feedback, but don't just ask straightforward questions. Take one step deeper. All right. So what I did with, and I keep doing this with pretty much all the schools that we do recommend. So I go to the school, I call all my students there, and I have it as a completely private environment, just me and my students, right? And I keep asking them questions. I was like, okay, what are the kinds of, what are the types of industry faculty that have come? What are the kinds of industry projects that have been done? How has anyone in this group applied for a patent, right? So you keep asking questions like this, and the deeper you dig, the better it is, the more information you can get. All right. Now coming down to your, so that's one thing that's very sketchy. It's good to get feedback, positive, negative, very good to do that. But just ask one step deeper and you'll get better answers. So overall, when I kept digging deeper, I found, like, I went into things like, how did you like your hostel? How is your relationship between your seniors? Is there any bullying? Things like this. And I've got very good feedback from, all these institutions. So I would recommend that, number one, before making your decisions. Number two is even for people who've given up a gap year, I would still recommend applying to a few schools. It's important that you keep applying to schools. Very important that you have some backup plans, because even if you've given up a gap year, there's only one shot at NID, one shot at UC. Sometimes it just may not be your day, or sometimes the person who's evaluating you may not really be in the best of moods to evaluate. So all these things, these are subjective exams at the end of the day. So don't have a backup plan is what I would suggest. If maybe UID is not your cup of tea, okay, fine. Look at some other school, no problem. But have at least 2 or 3 schools that you can choose from. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Actually, I wanted to add something more.
Go ahead. I'll take the last question from you, Nandini.
Yeah, I actually, after I withdrew from those 2 schools, I'm now pursuing computer science
Okay.
as of right now. And my plan is to either, like, if I still don't get into design, I would continue with my computer science and then apply for master's later.
I would keep this discussion for a generic conversation. Any specific conversation we can have to your situation, we can have it at some other time. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Dion, this is Disha. Just as an additional question to what you were talking about, regarding digging deeper, etc.
Yeah.
Would you be able to give us some insights, because I was looking for that in this session, that how do you place all these private schools in terms of placements and infrastructure? How does one, you have the access with all your ex-students, we don't.
Yes.
So it would be great if you have that insight and you could share that with us.
Yeah. So all these schools that I'm recommending have good infrastructure. I've visited almost all of these schools. So I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the students. I've met with my students. I've interacted and I've got feedback from my students. And that's the reason why I'm recommending these schools. So in my perspective, I think that these are highly recommended schools. By the way, to suggest these 10, 15 schools, I've had to visit about 60 to 70 different schools. I've eliminated a lot of rubbish. I've seen schools that are offering BEDAS AICTE approved without a campus, without faculty, without students, but AICTE approved.
No, that I'm sure it's like an extreme case, but even in all of these, it's like, and do they all offer placements or mostly they don't?
No. Okay. So let me talk about placements. It's a good point that you brought up. When it comes to placements, all these schools say that they have a placement cell. They say that they've got good placements, but really that's something that is a little sketchy. Nobody can really verify that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I said year 1, year 2, focus on your interests. Year 3, focus on building your portfolio. Year 4, focus on identify companies and apply to those companies. Don't depend really on the school for placements. Placements in design schools, architecture schools, fashion schools really don't work like engineering schools. So this is where each individual needs to look out for themselves. somebody may be interested in very specifically for let's say looking for companies like Pixar or Technicolor. Apply to those directly. Don't depend on the schools. All right, that's what I would suggest. Yeah, I'll just take a few
And
more
when you're
questions.
talking about,
Can I take a few
yeah,
more
just this
questions on
last
the
question.
chat, please? If you can put your
Yeah.
question in the chat, that'll be great. Okay. Ankita Gupta is asking, I want to be a UI UX designer, but I've been told that it's better to take a UI UX degree in postgrad and not undergrad. So which courses should I look at for undergrad? Not necessarily. If you want to be a UI UX designer, you can take it at undergrad as well. But if you want to do something a little more generic, you can take communication design and then take UI UX design. All right. Disha Bandari is asking, when our DNA's class is going to start? This Sunday, it'll start. This is an open session to anyone, whether they're DQ Lab students, whether they're not DQ Lab students, whether they're parents, whether there's anyone, just, happy to be and learn something new, are welcome. Will you be sharing USEED registration link also in the WhatsApp group? Yes, it's already been shared, Rajneesh. So please look out for that. If it's not been shared, I will ask my team to share it. Is the e-meet from 5 to 6 p.m. every day, or will it change? Yes, it's from 5 to 6 p.m. On weekdays. It's not like we will have it every day. As and when we get a school, we will announce it and then we will do that. Okay. Amrita Singh is asking a question about international colleges and studying abroad. Amrita, this is typically a session of schools in India. Between our team, I'm the one who's actually gone and visited all the schools in India, so I'm familiar with that. As far as schools abroad are concerned, Umesh Kumar is the one who has a good hold on colleges abroad. So I would like to leave that to him. We'd possibly organize another session on that. Could we have a cheat sheet of all the institutes, courses plus application link, and the last date more important? Bhaskar, good question. It's all there on DQ Edge. If you go there, you will find that information there. As and when colleges give us updated information, we update it on that page. So that's your cheat sheet. That is where you get your information. We're trying to keep it as brief as possible so that, sometimes when you go to the college website, you get lost with too much of information. That's the reason why we've kept this as a cheat sheet, and we hope that helps you. Denisa Joel, which colleges will be taking part in design nuances? All the colleges which are on DQ Edge, we are inviting them to take part in design nuances into series. Okay. Anika Ghosh, which private schools are having their test before NID and USEED? Pretty much all this, many of these schools, not all of them, many of these, I know Srishti, UID, MIT, these will have their sessions after the NID and USEED, but the other schools will probably have it before. Okay. Priya Krishna is asking, how is Jain University Bangalore specifically for product design? There's a recent incident where the director of Jain University has passed away. Unfortunately, he was a brilliant man, Dr. Somajit Ghoshal. So we've taken it off our recommended list as of now, because we really don't know who is coming, who's going to be heading the school yet. And that's one of the critical factors that we find. The person needs to be a visionary. Until we are confident on that person, we're not putting that back. Let's see who comes. I will refrain from commenting on that at this stage. Okay. Akshay Aruna asking, do any of these colleges provide scholarships? The answer is yes. A lot of them do provide scholarships. But for the first cycle of admission, so you need to be wary of that. Okay. Which Pearl campus is better, Bangalore or Delhi? The Delhi campus is the oldest campus. It's well known for fashion design. there are 2 campuses in Delhi, in fact, so there's a lot more fashion design sensibility there. In terms of fashion design, my perspective is I've not seen a better college for fashion design than Pearl Academy, personally. So I would strongly recommend that. The Bangalore campus is a good campus, nevertheless. It's a relatively new campus. The first batch has not yet passed out, but they have a good track record. So with good confidence, we can say that it's going to be good.
For communication, sorry, for communication, which one is better? You said fashion, it's Delhi for
Yeah.
Pearl.
Yeah,
So
for communication, I would think that the thing is, unless a campus is established 4 years and students have graduated, it's very difficult to say that, what's going to happen. But we do have reasonable confidence with Pearl Academy because their other campuses have been established. I think in Bangalore, they're putting a lot of focus on communication design, UI UX design, VFX communication. So that's the specialization I think that Bangalore would be good for. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Shiva Anup is asking, Strat School is a three-year program, but as directed, 4-year is recommended. Yes, Shiva Anup, good question. So I still recommend the 4-year programs, but I put a caveat there saying 3+2 is fine, right? Because that's an integrated master's program. It is very well recognized. Industry accepts that as a master's program. So there's no problem with Strat if you take the 5-year program. But if you take the 3-year program, that's not something that I would strongly recommend. How to apply for colleges abroad and what is the eligibility? Sahana, as far as abroad colleges go, let me ask Umesh to have a session on that. So hopefully you'll get clarity in that. KM is asking me at UID, which course is better, the BDES or the Global Design Program? As mentioned earlier, the BDES is a very focused program at UID. The Global Design Program has elements of multiple types of design. I would request you to be present in tomorrow's webinar with UID so that you can ask the question directly to them. Redita Biju, do UCED applicants get to skip the written exams in some colleges like Srishti based on the rank? Redita, good question. The answer is yes. Certain schools, so UCED has a applicant sharing contract with a few schools. All right. So IIT charges these schools and says, okay, I will share the contacts of those who qualify UCED. So about 12,000 students answer UCED, about 2,000 students qualify. So those 2,000 students contact information, will be shared. I think they take your consent to share first. But those schools say, if you have cleared the round 1 of UCED, then you don't need to answer my round 1, right? So that's the logic. So what they say is, you still need to apply individually to the college. You still need to go through round 2. It's just that round 1 is not required. Okay. So they will still have the interview process. So please keep that in mind. KM is asking me, ISDI SOP, should it be specific? How much weightage to it? ISDI statement of purpose, yes, it should be. So getting into the details of each school, let's do one thing. Let's call ISDI. We'll have a webinar with them. Please attend that webinar and they would be best equipped to answer that question. Rajneesh, I was told that there were some issues with recognition of some of the programs by some colleges. Example, Srishti. Is the list shared by DQ Labs in their portal? All recognized? Any insights of this? Yes, Srishti did have an issue with 2 batches when they were switching between Mysore University and Bangalore University and Manipal University. There's an overlap there. So 2 batches had to suffer. In between, the issues in court, it's getting resolved, but yeah, the issues at Srishti have been resolved. There was an issue with the degree at Pearl Academy, which has been resolved. So all the programs on the DQ Labs website, DQ Edge website, are absolutely recognized programs. You don't need to worry about that. But it's also important that you do your own check before you make your decision. So we do our best to give you the right information, but sometimes we could make mistakes. So please take that as your call. Okay. Do private universities consider board exam score as well? Swati, the answer is no. They only look at they primarily look at your entrance exam, how you perform. Maybe some universities may specify that as a requirement, but not all of them. Rahul De Mello, your question is related to study abroad. I will get Umesh to answer that. Radhika, which one has a higher acceptance rate, the Global Design Program or the BDES program at UID? I think they have a lot of students applying for their program. So best is to ask this question to them tomorrow. Okay. Disha Bandari is asking, I was looking at your recommendation on how to compare infrastructure and placements of Srishti, MIT, UID, and STRAT. Right. So Srishti, MIT, UID. These, okay, let's put MIT and UID in one bucket and Srishti and STRAT in another bucket. All right. So MIT and UID are kind of larger institutions, larger experience over there. Apart from the design school, they have so many other schools there. So you get a whole university kind of an atmosphere. If you remember the first few slides that I showed, there's a university kind of an atmosphere. And on the other hand, Srishti and STRAT are more specialized towards design. So that's the environment and the atmosphere that you get. The choice is up to you. Disha, at this point, I see your hand still raised. Is there any other question that you'd like to add on?
No, that will be all. Thanks.
Okay. Do these categories have an overseas colleges have an overseas category? Yes. UID has something called an NRI seat. All right. Typically, people who miss the deadline can also select the NRI seat. People who are non-resident Indians need to take that NRI seat. It's relatively easier to get through, but I don't know how many schools have an NRI seat in specific. You probably need to connect with them and figure out. Okay. Ishita Sharma, does the diploma offered by Pearl ISDI give good placements? Okay, good question. Does the diploma offered by Pearl and ISDI give good placements? Now, Pearl and ISDI used to give diploma programs earlier. Now, both of them are giving degree programs via university. So Pearl has tied up with Bangalore City University. ISDI has become their own university. It's called Atlas Skill Tech University. So absolutely no issues with the recognitions of these degrees. All right. Mohita, I have answered the question on Jain University. How important is portfolio when applying to the colleges in India? When is it needed? Shashank Hebbar, good question. When it comes to colleges abroad, the portfolio, they don't have entrance tests, right? So the portfolio is the primary eliminating factor for them, the portfolio and the interview. Whereas when it comes to Indian schools, the portfolio is important, but it's typically just a collection of work that you've already done. They want to understand what you've done before and, what your thought process is. It's relatively simpler. So, so you can focus on that aspect. It's required, whenever it's required. Maybe ISDI, we hear requires a portfolio, so you can just collate that information and keep it ready. It shouldn't be too complex. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Disha Bandari is asking, I understand that Strat School of Design has an integrated design program, which BDes, MDes, I've covered that. Daksh Surana, sir, would you consider taking 1 year drop year if we don't clear NID UC? No, Daksh, I would not recommend a drop year. I would recommend that you join a private school and still give it a shot. Give your NID a shot, give UC a shot the next year, but don't lose a year, because there's still no assurances that you will get through the next year, right? So it's just a question of probability, of chance, of just being smart. Understand this. There is a tremendous shortage of designers in India at this stage, right? So if you don't get your college 1, go for college 2. If you don't get college 2, go for college 3. That's fine. You can make your career out of it. The challenge is probably to get your first job, but once you get your first job, moving into the second, third job, not a problem. Yeah. Padma Priya is asking, during admission process, is it possible to visit the campus? Padma Priya, it is most recommended to visit the campus. In fact, we'll try and organize campus visits to some of these schools so that, you know, we all go together, and at least the schools in Bangalore, we can do that. We'll try other options as well. Smita Balram, if you can, I'll just take a break from everybody, from the question in the chat, and I will take your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know why Symbiosis is not listed in the top list of colleges, actually, the private colleges. Yeah.
Right. So I personally visited Symbiosis. I think it's a good school. I think it's a well-branded school. My personal opinion is if you are in Pune, then you can definitely consider Symbiosis. But I think if you're in Bangalore or Bombay or, you know, any other city, you have sufficient choices in your area, you know, so you really don't need to relocate. But if you really are keen on Symbiosis, you can consider that. Okay. Yeah. Swara Amre is asking, would you recommend to take a gap year in case we don't get into NID? I've taken that question. Do you recommend pursuing an MDes degree after BDes? Daksharna, good question. And, you know, you would take an MDes if it gives you let's say you do your BDes and you're looking to do an MDes. So you would do it for 2 reasons. Number one is, if you want to change your stream, let's say you've done your BDes in maybe fashion design and you want to do your MDes in UI UX design, then you would do that. Or if you feel that you're getting into an extremely good college, which will, let's say you've done your bachelor's in say Srishti, and you want to do your master's in NID, right? So then it would give a huge boost to your career. So you just see, so that's a decision you take at that point of time. Don't worry about it at this stage. Okay. Does it make a big difference applying to UC for UC now or closer to the deadline? Would it make any difference for our center? Rahul, it does not make a difference, but please do not delay. Close this, finish it off. Don't delay. We've seen people waiting till the last minute and then losing out. Okay. So any of these applications, finish it off immediately. Things will always come. Prioritize this, close it out. Between 4-year BDes and 5-year integrated MDes, which one do you think has a better scope or advantage? Runali, both are good programs. I wouldn't be able to specifically tell you one is better than the other, but with an MDes, with the integrated program, you kind of save a year. So maybe that has its own advantages. All right. Do BDes subjects include computer programming? Surabjit Bhattacharya, thanks for asking this question. Design is a thought process. All right. The design thinking process, which is taught to everybody. It's a problem solving process. A fashion designer would learn that process and and apply to fashion design. A UI UX designer would learn the same process and apply it to UI UX design. So there really is a need for no need for getting into the details of things and specifically focusing on programming. Think about it. If I'm a UI UX designer, I have the whole company to I have thousands of engineers doing what I'm saying, right? So I don't need to learn how to do programming. I just need to think, how do we save one step on that Amazon app, right? Right. I hope I've answered your question. Can we have a consolidated sheet for exam dates too, Shivanu? We'll try and do that. Okay. How is RV University for product design? Mohita, so RV University is relatively new. This is the second batch that started. So I would strongly say that, while I do think RV University is one of the better universities, it comes with they've got good faculty, they've got good vision, they've got good infrastructure. Always, it does take 3 or 4 years for a college to settle down and really fix all the small nagging issues and build up on the infrastructure. So they grow with the first batch, So we've seen a lot of schools that we've had a lot of hope in, but have really not turned out well after 4 years. I wouldn't say RV. I would say, any new school, we have some inclination that they're going to be good, but not the 100% confidence. But we do have a strong inclination that RV University is good and can be considered for product design. Denisa, I've answered your question. Which institutes use SAT in lieu of round 1? Naina, I think if you're talking about NIFTs, the NRI seats, they use SAT. But as far as the other schools go, you'll probably need to check with each school independently. Okay. Arwa is asking, how is the MIT indoor campus? So Arwa, I've not been to the indoor campus, but however, the MIT campus, indoor campus is one of the part of the MIT ID group. I think it's a large campus. I think it's in Ujjain. So what happens is, I think amongst the MIT groups, the Pune campus is the best. All right. However, when it comes to moving to the other campuses, it should be an alternative to the Pune campus. Having said that, MIT is putting a lot of focus on that campus, and I think it can be considered, but also bear in mind that MIT indoor campus is near Ujjain, Indore, that belt. I've also mentioned that there are schools that are in metro cities that are good, but then there are exceptions which can be considered of schools which have the infrastructure, have the faculty, but they may not be in metro cities. But that's something that you need to think what suits you. Okay. Yeah, just 1 second. Question from Sweetie. How is Symbiosis? I've handled that question. Symbiosis Institute, Mumbai. No, Symbiosis is in Pune. Symbiosis is known for their management programs. Their design programs is secondary. So I would probably stick to a specific design school. Yeah. What is the difference between Bangalore City University and Bangalore University? Okay, this is interesting because Bangalore University, was in one part of Bangalore and it had a lot of colleges under it. So Bangalore University has trifurcated into 3 universities: Bangalore North, Bangalore City, and I think Bangalore South, something like that. Now, the colleges in the northern part, say Yelahanka, have to tie up with Bangalore North University. The colleges within the city limits have to tie up with Bangalore City University, right? And similarly, it's the regional jurisdiction which has been created. Shraddha Sri Kumar is asking, you've told that Pearl Academy has a BDES and affiliated to Bangalore University, but Bangalore University does not offer BDES, but programs like BBA and VWalk. Can you explain this? Yes, Shraddha. I said that Pearl Academy has a Bachelor of Visual Arts program, not a BDES program, right? So Bangalore City University offers the Bachelor of Visual Arts, and Pearl Academy gives that Bachelor of Visual Arts program, right? Not a BDES program, but it's still a 4-year program, right? Which is what I've been saying right from the beginning, that it helps. Smita Kulkarni, PS also has BDES. Any reviews on that? Yeah, I do have certain reservations on that, which I'd rather not get into here. We'll talk about that in some other forum. Priya Krishna, how would UID Gurgaon and Ahmedabad campuses compare infrastructure-wise and placement-wise? So, UID Ahmedabad is a flagship campus, something that's been existing and worked very well over the last few years. UID Gurgaon campus or NCR campus is a new university. So what's happened is GD Goenka University had a design program and was established, and they had the infrastructure. UID has tied up with them and is running. So UID is running the program at GD Goenka, right? So the degree at UID NCR campus is given by GD Goenka University. That's just a university tag, nothing else with respect to that. The entire program is run by UID. So I think from a program delivery perspective, it's great. From an infrastructure perspective, I think it should be good. I haven't visited the NCR campus, but my visit is due. I'll be able to tell you about the infrastructure soon enough. Placement wise, I think we'll have to wait till the UID starts working towards that. But as far as GD Goenka, they've had their campus since a few years. Placements have been reasonably good. Okay, Nikita Devi is saying, I'm focusing on product design. There's a lot of questions. I don't know if I'll be able to take all the questions, but let's see. I am focusing on product design course, but I'm also interested in fashion design. So will my preparation for NID help me with my entrance coaching for fashion colleges? Yeah, okay, so interesting question, Nikita. What we need to understand is that the fundamentals, all right, the fundamentals of all the programs are the same. Whether you're doing architecture, design, or fashion, you still need to learn sketching. You still need to learn aptitude. You still need to be able to understand the type of questions and deliver, what is required. Now, the structure so beyond the fundamentals, the expectation from the design exams is very different from the expectation from the fashion exams and very different from the architecture exams, right? So if you are preparing for design, it will give you a good base, a good understanding and good knowledge, but there will be things like this. Now, in the design exam, the focus on mathematics is not very strong, whereas for NIFT, the focus on mathematics is reasonably high. The complexity in the questions, the creative questions for design is very high, whereas the complexity for the fashion questions is not as high, not as challenging as the design related questions. You have the design awareness questions which would be very different from the design exams and the fashion exams. So definitely you do need some level of understanding of the exam, of the structure, and how to handle those questions. If you do want the preparation for the fashion colleges, just talk to your counselor and they'll kind of help you out with that. Okay. Is there any design course which has a prerequisite of having taken science subjects in 11th and 12th grade? Jyoti, good question. The answer to that is yes. There is only one college, which is IIT Guwahati, that says you need science subjects. All the other colleges in India say you don't need that. Okay. Asima is asking, what about MIT WPU Pune? I'm not entirely certain. This is a relatively new college. It's not part of the MIT ID group. It's a different university, MIT World Peace University, relatively new program. Not something I have entire confidence in it yet. Aditi Kamath is asking, do any of these private colleges consider SAT scores? I've answered that question. Which has a better universe reputation, MIT ADT or MIT ID? Okay. MIT ADT is the university. MIT ID is the institution. All right. So they're both the same university. What you may be asking, Disha, is which has a better reputation, MIT ADT or MIT WPU? So the answer to that is MIT ADT, right? That has a better reputation.
Thanks.
Vriddhi is asking, this is the last question. Vriddhi is asking, does Pearl Academy and ISTI provide a degree in fashion designing? Yes. The answer is yes. A cousin of mine who studied there says that they provide a degree in different subject, but not design. Things have changed, Vriddhi. Things have changed because a few years ago that was the case, but now they have affiliated and they're giving the relevant degrees. All right. But that was also to circumvent the government rules. That's why they did that. Last question from Rajneesh. What would be the primary difference between joining BE plus MDes versus BDes plus MDes in terms of career prospects? Typically, there shouldn't be a difference, all right? Because if I look at Sean and Umesh, they've had classmates from diverse backgrounds. Umesh, architect designer, Sean, engineer designer. They've had classmates who come from visual arts, from fine arts, and various backgrounds, all doing the same thing, all got into General Motors, all they've been put in the same plane. So as mentioned before, design is all about the design process. Maybe some companies may want someone with a BE background and then MDes. Is very specific. All right. Which colleges accept UC ranks? Renita, the colleges that accept UC ranks have been put in the are listed on the UC website. Please check that out. Shraddha Sri Kumar is asking, how is Kerala Institute of Design, which is set up with the help of NID Ahmedabad? Really, I would say stick to the mainstream. Yeah, stick to the recommended ones. Okay, so with this, I've come to the end of the questions, or let me just take one last question before we end. And this question is from Tejas from Chennai 2023 student. If a college has a course on communication design and I'm looking for animation design, should I go for a college which offers animation or go for a college with communication? Right. So Tejas, I've answered this question a little while ago. It depends. If you want animation, you can just do that and get into animation industry, apply to companies like Pixar or Technicolor and things like that. However, if you're in doubt or you say, okay, let me keep my options open, then go for a general communication design degree. You can still work in, by year 3, year 4, tune your portfolio towards the design, towards animation, and you can apply to companies in that way. I hope you all have enjoyed this session. My intention was for this to end in 1 hour, but it's taken 1.5 hours. Meena Varghese is asking me to repeat the session. Meena Varghese, maybe we'll see if people have missed this or there are more requests. Otherwise, You could reach out to the counselors. If you want a personal session with me, please reach out to counselors. Let me try and organize sessions at each of our centers. I hope this was helpful to everyone. I hope it's given you a base and understanding. And I hope this, is part of your journey. This has helped you out. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Rajneesh, there's a question, very specific question. We'll talk about that offline. Okay. Right. So thank you so much to everyone for being patiently listening here. I hope you all have a good experience with DQLab and wish you all the best for your exams. Parents, please support your kids as much as possible. I'm glad you all are here supporting your kids, and let's take it from there. Okay. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.